Hello, everybody. My name is Dejon, and today I wanted to talk to you about the three questions that you can ask yourself to help you disbelieve or to help show you that your thoughts are not true. Before we start this video, I just want to say that I did not come up with these questions. These are not my own questions. These are the questions that my life coach suggested that we ask ourselves. I asked myself these questions, and through these questions, I was able to see that my thoughts were not true. So now I wanted to present these questions to you guys to help you see and help you discover that your thoughts are not as true as you think they may be. Um, so let's get right into it today. I don't know how long this video is going to be, and I'm probably going to be trying to figure out examples as we go through the video to help you guys better understand. So, when it comes to looking inward and doing a little bit of inner engineering, and when we start taking steps towards uh, being happy and more peaceful, we're going to look at our thoughts because those are the things that are creating us suffer, that are creating our suffering. So when we're looking at those and we find one that is creating our suffering, we have to ask three questions. Now, not all of these questions need to be answered for you to discover that your thoughts are true or not true. You can discover by one question that your thoughts are not true. You can discover by two. Some of you may take all three. But just so you know, not all three of these questions need to be answered for you to see that your thoughts are not true. So the first question is to ask, simple, is it true? Is the thought that I'm having true? And it sounds really simple, but I know a lot of the times when I've asked people, are you sure that that's true? The immediate answer is usually yes. And we have to really sit down and ask ourselves, am I absolutely sure that this thought is true? And all of these questions have something to do with this initial thought that you found. This thought that you found that is causing you suffering, um, these three questions are the questions you're going to ask yourself to discover that this thought is not actually true. And the first one, like I said, is it true? Is do I know that this thought is true? How am I so sure? How am I so sure that this thought is true? We tell ourselves a lot of stories throughout our lives, and um, we manipulate these stories to fit whatever perspective, whatever prerogative, whatever we're trying to fit. We we manipulate it so it fits that criteria. And I know a lot of the stories that we tell ourselves, we use very powerful and extreme words like no or never or all the time. And these powerful words are an always, like it always mean to me. My life is never going to be okay. I'll never, it's always going to be like this. These words do not allow any positivity to come in at all. So when we do ask ourselves these questions and whatnot, when we use words like that, it doesn't help. It doesn't help us let any positivity in whenever we are trying to become happy and get rid of our suffering. We have been saying these things to ourselves for so long, and now they almost have become so concrete into our mind. And another thing that we do is that we exaggerate the bad outcomes. Like, oh, if I don't finish this in time, my boss is going to kill me, or ah man, my dad's gonna be so mad, or my mom's gonna kill me. I'm never gonna get over this, and we exaggerate these bad outcomes without really even ever knowing if these are true, because we can't see into the future. We don't know what will happen, but our brain tells us what we think is going to happen, and then we might exaggerate it, and then it just takes it out of proportion, and now we have this suffering. So the first question is that when you find a thought that is causing you suffering, to ask it, and ask yourself, is this thought true? How am I sure? Am I positively sure? How do I know that this thought is true? Am I exaggerating? Am I using extreme words that aren't allowing any positivity in anywhere? Is this thought true? The second question to ask is, can you think of any reasons or examples on why the opposite could be said? Um, so think about it like this. If you thought that you were ugly, or stupid, or pathetic, or worthless, or not lovable, is it possible? Is there any examples or reasonings why the opposite could be true? And if you can find any examples or reasonings why the opposite could be true, how, if the opposite can be true, how do you know that your thought is true? Um, a lot of the times when we tell ourselves these stories in our heads, we've been living that story for years. I know for me, I used to tell myself these stories about myself, that I wasn't good enough. I was stupid. I wasn't smart. Uh, I was ugly. Things like that, and these became like concrete. So when I had to ask myself these questions, is there any reasons or any examples of the opposite being true? And the opposite was true. There were people who said I was cool. There were people who said I was handsome. There were people who said that, I wasn't what I thought that I was. And when you ask yourself these questions, you might have to. It might take some time. It might take some creativity, and it might take some brutal honesty to actually come up with genuine reasons and examples on why the opposite may be true. Is a lot of times you'll come to find out that the opposite can be true, and if that's the case, if you find reasons and examples, if the opposite can be true, then how do you know that the thought that you had about yourself is true? If the opposite can be true, how is this fact? How is this fact? If someone could say, if someone says if someone says, or if I say that I am stupid, and someone says, I think you're smart, what am I? I think I'm stupid, and they think I'm smart. So I thought this was a fact, but they said something else now. So when you start to see that the opposite can be true, it'll start to dissolve your thought, because now I don't know. I don't know if this is true now. I don't know. If this was fact, then how can other people think that differently? And that they do think differently. So what's going on up here? And that is how our mind plays tricks on us. It's not really working in our favor a lot of the times. And the third question to ask ourselves when we find the thought that is creating our suffering is, am I sure that my thought is a fact, or is it just a perspective? And you'll see how all these questions kind of revolve around in each other. and how these questions are all supposed to break down this thought isn't true. So think of the third question like this. Let's say you and your friends go see a movie at a different time. You come out and you don't like the movie, and you tell your friends you don't like the movie, but your friends say they liked the movie and they thought it was really good. Well, in this situation, you are expressing your opinion, and they're expressing their opinion, and you two are curious about why the other one thinks the other way, and there's no arguments, there's no nothing. Now, same scenario, same different movie. You go watch it and you think it's horrible, it's boring, it's whack, it's a waste of time. And then now your friends come out and you're like, man, it was a really good movie. Like, I want to go see it again. Same thing. You expressed your opinion, but this time you don't look at it as an opinion. You see your opinion, your perspective, as a fact. And now that you see it as a fact, you're looking at your friends like, well, how could you think that way? This movie was obviously stupid or boring. So now, because you believe, and because you believe that your opinion is now a fact, now you are going to try to persuade them to think the way you think. There's going to be arguments. You may belittle them for thinking the way they think. You might call them stupid for thinking the way they think. I guess that goes into belittling. And the same thing happened. You shared your opinion in both scenarios. You shared your perspective in both scenarios. But in one scenario, you acknowledge the fact that this is your opinion, this is your perspective. But in another scenario, you believe that opinion and perspective was fact. And a lot of the times, that's what tends to happen, is that whenever we feel an emotion, whenever we are experiencing an emotion, it is because we have confused a fact with our perspective. Our thoughts in our heads are just opinions, they're perspectives, they're not factual. They're not. What we do is that we label facts. For example, this is a book. This is just a book. That's a fact. Now, my perspective of the book, my opinion about the book, my thoughts about the book is that it's a cool book. I like this book. It's cool. But someone else may come by and say that's an ugly book. That book's not cool. It's not as cool as this other book that they have. And all we did there was share opinions and perspectives and our thoughts about the book. But the book is still a book at the end of the day. And that's what you need to ask about this thought that you have. Is it a fact, or is it just a perspective? If someone else can, if I hold this book up and I have a thought about it, I have a perspective about it, and I ask somebody from on the other side of the world with different age, different race, they grew up differently than me, they learned different things than me. If I could ask someone else in the other part of the world about the same thing and we have different perspectives about it, how do I know that my perspective is not fact? If they had a completely different perspective. So you have to look at your thoughts in your head. You have to ask yourself, is it true? Can I think of any reasons or example why the opposite may be true? And if the opposite can be true, how do I know that my thought is a fact? And is my thought a fact, or is it just a perspective? If I ask people with different backgrounds of me about the same thing that I have a thought about, if they think differently about the same thing that I have a thought about that's different from theirs, how do I know that my thought is a fact? Or is it just a perspective? Is it just an opinion? Do I just have an opinion about myself? Am I stupid? Is that a fact that I'm stupid? People have called me smart. So if people called me smart, how do I know that I'm stupid? How do I know that the thought saying that I'm stupid, the story that I'm telling myself, how do I know that's fact? Is that just a perspective that I have of myself? And perspectives are just opinions. They're just thoughts, opinions, which aren't facts, so they're not true. So you see, when you start asking yourself these questions, whenever you notice thoughts that are causing you suffering, um, you'll discover for yourself. These questions are for you to ask yourself. This is not for you to believe anything that I'm saying. This isn't to trust anything that I say to be true. You have to ask yourself these questions. Discover for yourself that your thoughts are not true. And once you do, they will have no place up here. They want to make a home, they want to be relevant. So when you tell yourself a story, when you have a thought about yourself, a perspective about yourself, when you believe it, they get to sit down and unpack. They get to sit down and unpack and make a home. But when you don't believe these thoughts in your head, they have no place to stay. You don't give them the opportunity to sit down, unpack, and make themselves comfortable. So I suggest, if you're watching these videos to live more peacefully and happily, ask yourself those 3 questions. Comment down below if you have any questions about anything that I've said, and comment your stories, your progression with the questions. If you're stuck on a question, you can comment that down below, and I can walk you through it. You can message me on Twitter, and I hope that I was able to convey these questions in such a way that you were able to understand what I was saying. And I just thank you guys for watching my videos and sharing them everywhere. You know, I don't really post these because I'm trying to I just want to if I can reach one person, that means that would mean a lot to me. And a lot of you tell me pretty nice and good things and kind words about the stuff that I have to say. So I appreciate all of that. And like I said before, I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned. I think the next video I want to do, or one of the next few videos coming up, is that I want to explain the meanings. I already explained this one, but I'll redo that. But I want to explain the meanings of these tattoos. A lot of them have some deep meanings, and I think that would be pretty interesting. So stay tuned for that. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day or night, depending on when you're watching this. I love you. Be safe. And until next time.